Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joy at Work. It's great to have you. It's June 26, 2020. Thanks for joining me. Finally, Arsenal has a win in the books, so at least that's good news, and hope you're doing well. Today, I want to respond to a question somebody asked me from my last video. Act differently, think differently. And the question, if I were to paraphrase, was really around before, I guess, acting differently and thinking differently, if we needed to take the time to do a little bit of self reflection, self awareness, see where our motives are coming from, to make sure that we're being sincere and we're not checking the box and all those good things. And it's a great question, great thoughts, and I understand where it's coming from. One of the things I think people struggle with the most, I know I have in my career as well, and just life in general, is a sense of feeling like a fraud, right? Of feeling that we're not staying true and consistent to ourselves. People talk about authentic all the time, and I think authenticity is something that's actually misunderstood in the context of who we are as human beings and workplace. Because for a lot of people, authenticity means I'm true to myself. But what gets interesting here is what's yourself, and what does that mean about yourself? All of ourselves are products of environments and backgrounds and experiences. Some of them healthy and some of them unhealthy. So it's highly unlikely that ourselves, if you want to think about it that way, are perfect or fully formed to the point where we can say genuinely like I'm gonna be authentic. And I think authenticity has its place. It's an important thing to talk about, but in the context of developing and growing and taking on new behaviors and ultimately thinking differently, I think we need to be careful with that, because the reality is, as we're changing, as we're transforming, if you want to look at it that way, or adapting, whatever term you want to use, we experience discomfort. And we experience discomfort, one, because we're taking on new behaviors that are different. We might have to learn new skills or new approaches. For example, if I'm not a great listener, if I always interrupt when people are speaking or jump in, right? Like learning how to listen, becoming a better listener might be difficult for me initially. Like I might struggle. I remember many years ago I read a book by Jerry Weinberg, and I'm sorry I can't remember the name of the book, but it was from him that I learned the listening exercise, right? And what he recommended in that book was, if you wanted to improve your listening, go into a meeting and intentionally decide not to say a word, just listen. And he encouraged people to do that. That was an example of taking on a new behavior. So I tried that many moons ago, and was it easy? No, it wasn't easy. In fact, people wondered if I wasn't happy, if I was sick, and asked me a lot of questions. So there's discomfort, no doubt, from just learning the behavior. But there's also another source of discomfort in many of these cases. And that source of discomfort is we're challenging ultimately who we are. And that bothers every single person, right? Identity is so important to us, for a variety of reasons: where we come from, our heritage, the groups we belong to. Identity matters. And anytime we do something that begins to challenge our identity, even in the most subtle ways of who we think we are, right? Like who we think we are matters to us. We begin to feel a little bit like a fraud, right? So I get feedback about this all the time. When we're talking about act your way into new thinking, people say to me, well, this is not who I am, and I feel like I'm not being sincere. Of course, you're going to feel that way because you were a certain way before that. And now you're trying to become a different way, maybe evolve, grow, take on some new thinking and new behavior. And so you're going to experience a period there where you're not going to feel true to yourself. You're going to feel inauthentic. And candidly, others might perceive you as checking the box there for a while, or not being sincere. So I think the notion that there must be a sense of wholeness as we're taking on new behaviors and transforming the way we're thinking, and that we don't experience any cognitive dissonance or feel kind of just feel odd. I think is not the measure that we should be looking at here. Sure, sometimes we'll take on new behaviors and it'll just feel natural because maybe that's something we've wanted to do. But we must accept that there are times, I believe we must accept this, that there are times where in taking on new behaviors, we will feel like a fish on dry land. We'll feel completely uncomfortable. We'll feel like we're doing something that's not us. And I'll just give one last example, right? And I've experienced this personally, and maybe you have too as well. Working with somebody that you don't enjoy working with, right? Like that's a common one, and I hear people say, "Well, if I fake that I enjoy working with them, then I'm not being real," and whatever the case may be. I actually think that that's missing the point. I mean, it can't, first of all, it's really not about them; it's about you. So why wouldn't you create the best experience for yourself? Why would you let the other person kind of keep you in a low place when you can kind of be thriving? But that aside, right? Treating that person as if you don't have a problem with them is actually extremely liberating. And what I found in my career when I've been able to do this, because there are times where myself got in the way of myself, but when I've been able to do this, I found that I might not have the best relationship with the person at the end of the day, but those feelings, that those thoughts that I had originally, I don't like working with this person, I don't want to be engaged, I don't want to do this, they eventually subside and it becomes a situation where I can do what I need to do, and life moves on. And sure, throughout that process, especially initially, did I feel a bit like a fraudster? Did I feel like I was insincere because maybe my actions didn't match how I felt and what I was thinking? Definitely. But after time, my thoughts change, right? And it's no longer an engagement of when I see an email from this person, I say, I wonder what they're saying now. It's like just like any other thing. So, this is a choice that we all get to make. We get to decide what we want to do. It's ultimately up to us. But if we think that in the process of change or transformation, that we will not experience sometimes a sense of feeling like we're not being true to ourselves, sometimes not feeling like we're being insincere, I think we're going to get in the way of making meaningful change. Those emotions, those feelings are part of what I've experienced and what I know others have experienced, um, that occur as we take on new behaviors and try to change the way we think. All right, that was a great question, great feedback for me. And next week, as a result of this, I'm also going to talk about feedback. It's important for us to reflect inside, but external feedback matters a lot as well. So again, act differently, think differently. Acting comes with discomfort, comes with pain, comes with maybe a little bit of a challenge to our identity or who we think we are, but that's okay. The journey is yours. You get to decide where you want to end up ultimately. I just want to make sure that you understand that change can be hard, can be difficult, can feel a little fake at times, but that's just part of the process. All right, thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate you. Bye.